Wade is guarding Bryant. Artest looking, gets it to Bryant. Bryant dribbling, has to put it up at the buzzer. Banks it in! He banks in the three! And the Lakers win the game!
Good morning, Syndicate members. How is everybody on this beautiful Wednesday? It is live from Austin, Texas, 9 a.m. Central. Boom. Winning on Wednesday. We are here. I'm here hanging out, bromancing the Joe. What is going on, dude?
Bromancing. Well, obviously you can tell I'm not in my office, so I am on the road, baby. So we'll get into that.
That's a much nicer looking backdrop, so that can't be your office.
I'm in the 7-Eleven that Carruthers was talking about a few months back. So
that's the executive 7-Eleven office.
I found the place, asked them if I could use it for my podcast. No, man, doing amazing. If you guys haven't seen, I am on the road with the Ultimate Agent Tour with Cody Askins. We have been on the road, new city, every night since Sunday. So we started in Dallas, and then we just went straight from Dallas to Orlando, event in Orlando, and then Orlando to Atlanta, and then an event in Atlanta, and then that was last night. So then we got to Charlotte last night about 1 o'clock. We're getting into our rooms at like 2 a.m. We got an event today, and then we head to Chicago, and then we're back to Dallas. So it's been an amazing week, and I'll go right into that for my weekly win. Shout out to Cody for putting on just an amazing week. I mean, y'all, you should see this. I mean, for a private jet, right? You've got 28 of us that aren't even the members and the agents that are coming to the actual event. Obviously, we're attending, we're speaking and stuff like that. But just the coordination and the teamwork and the communication and everything that is required for this to work, it's outstanding. So huge shout out to Cody and specifically his team. Like, they are freaking running this show, and it's been amazing, man. I never want to fly commercial again. Me and our special guest, John, get your freaking pen and paper ready, because we've got an amazing guest for y'all this morning. But we were messaging about it a couple of days ago when we were talking about the show, and it's like, man, there's nothing that beats flying private. And I said, dude, you're so right. I can charge my phone. I'm freaking drinking the whole time. I'm like, hey, here's a $50 tip. Just keep them coming, baby. So it has been amazing networking with agents, all that. I could keep going, man. I could keep going.
But you got about 30 people on that jet?
Yeah, we have 28. So it's, and once you're up in the air,
you have your own attendant. You have, I mean, it's kind of like flying commercial, but it's private, right? You have an attendant and everything that's serving y'all drinks and stuff.
Yep, drinks, food. As soon as you get up to 10,000 feet, I mean, dude, we're up. We're sitting in the aisle. We're standing up. We're networking. Like, literally, agents just going back and forth the whole time. Dude, it's been so freaking cool, man. I was like, okay. I hit up my wife, and I was like, Maria, we might have to be. We're thinking about this. I'm like, all right, this one's definitely right here on the vision board, and it just got bumped up in the time frame. That's for sure.
Right.
So,
nice,
yep.
Nice, good stuff, man. I'm doing outstanding. Thank you for asking. Getting ready for my trip to Vegas. I leave tomorrow for the Digital Life Insurance Mastermind. Cool. I guess you could call that my weekly win. I'm super pumped about it. Got my agenda together. I've got everything ready to go. Jeff Root has done a fantastic job organizing this event. I will say, and it's for some of y'all that know me, you know I do a lot of events. This will actually be, in 12 months, this will be the 24th event I've attended over a 12-month stretch. It'll be the, I think that's the 18th or 19th that I've actually spoken at.
Wow.
Might even be higher. It might be the 20th that I've spoken at. I got to go look at my numbers again. But yeah, this is the 24th event. So over the last 12 months, I've averaged 2 events a month for the most part. Most of that wrapped up in June, and then I had a couple of sporadic ones, and this is the last one because that whole thing.
Well, not just speaking either. You're emceeing the whole.
Right, I'm emceeing this one, so I'm hosting it. But out of all those events, and this isn't trying to say anything negative about any of the other people because they've done fantastic jobs, and some of theirs have been bigger events or longer events. But just the way he's organized all the details for me as the MC, it's been very appreciative. So if you're out there listening to this, Jeff Root, thank you so much for shooting that agenda to me. That's huge. That's going to help. And I'm just pumped for that event. We're going to have a good time. So a lot of good speakers at that one. Any of you guys are in Vegas for any reason, this will coming up weekend. We've got the Digital Life Insurance Mastermind welcome party Thursday night. The event is Friday, Saturday. You know, if you need a ticket, use discount code Tony and save some money.
There you go. Well, shoot, man. Like I said, y'all, we have got an amazing guest. Somebody who I didn't know, gosh, for quite a hot minute, and we were able to connect really. And you guys hear me talk about it. Your network is your net worth. And I'll tell you guys, this dude's freaking, his net worth up here is insane. I've never heard a guy drop as many freaking just knowledge bombs on me where I always am taking notes. And when I'm saying I'm taking notes, I'm pretty much trying to transcribe everything he's saying because it's all golden. Years and years of experience, right? Again, a wealth of knowledge. And so with that being said, y'all, real quick, put a nice little type in the comments for my good buddy, Mr. Bruce Weinstein. What's going on?
Bruce Weinstein, welcome to the party.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you guys?
We're doing fantastic, man. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
It is great to have the Plan Man on the podcast.
It's a small bit of marketing and branding behind me.
A small bit. That is a genius marketing idea, if you ask me. I love it. I think it's great. Great way to put yourself out there. Great way to brand yourself. The whole thing. So I think you need to come up with a jingle.
I have a jingle.
Mr. Plan Man, bring me some green. Please make my taxes the lowest they've been.
There you go. I'm gonna send that to my producer.
He has a good jingle though. I'll give him that.
When you need some advice, we won. So I'm gonna get the trophy, but my buddy wrote the jingle. My friend Ed, I've known since we're 8 years old, so 130 years, and he wrote the jingle. He's a professional musician, writer, and commercials, and they have an annual awards banquet. Think Mad Men, if you ever watched Mad Men, where they had their Chloes or whatever they were called. And so he sends me a picture of the trophy. He goes, "You won second place." I said, "I didn't even know we were entered." So the jingle he wrote for my show won second place. So I said, "How come?" I said, "How come wasn't first?" I said, "Get back to work."
You have an award-winning jingle. That's fantastic.
Award-winning jingle. That's pretty cool, right?
I love it.
Good
I love
for
it.
you,
Well,
buddy.
Bruce, take just a couple minutes, man. Who is Bruce? Right. Obviously, you know, I think you've definitely gotten a lot more followers, right? As I know you've been traveling. You've flown private too, I'm pretty sure, this year as well, or in 2021 too, if I'm not mistaken. And so just kind of let our members know who you are, kind of where you started from, and then ultimately that weekly win.
Well, I think I've seen Tony speak at 18 of the 24 events he's been at too. So we're kind of following each other around. My wife and I started Weinstein Wealth Insurance Solutions about 2 years ago from scratch, organic, independent insurance agency. But I have a 30-plus year background in the financial services space that we sold in 2016. So I started in 1986 and just celebrated my 36th year of being insurance licensed, no longer securities licensed. But when I meet young guns like you, Joe, I say I'm licensed longer than you're alive.
Yes.
That's a perception. But so we cover pretty much
bombs.
everything in the insurance. We cover pretty much everything in the insurance space, and we partner with people like Redwood for our P&C because we don't write directly, but we have those kind of relationships, and that's one of the things I value in working with you guys. And then we leverage what we do on the life, health, Medicare, annuity, group benefit side of things for agents that aren't doing those disciplines, where they have a place to go, have a trusted advisor that they know is going to take good care of their client. So somebody might need disability, they might need long-term care. Well, you don't see a lot of long-term care chat rooms, right? But there are people that are doing it, and what their clients need it. And so we're consultative. I've always been consultative, planning first, and we'll talking about the Plan Man show. Is I have nothing to sell, just problems to solve. And so I want people to come to us. I want Joe to come to me. I want Tony to come to me. And if we can't do it, we'll partner and find somebody who will. And guess what? The clients will always keep coming back. Your referral partners will always keep coming back. Never, You've seen my talk. Never say no to an opportunity.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And what's a weekly win for us? What's something that's cooking for you here in the past week?
Weekly win. So just before this, I was on Delray Live. That's my local chamber down here in Delray Beach, Florida. And we got to do about a 7-minute segment, talk about Weinstein Wealth and the Plan Man. Business-wise, we're actually, this is something we just did. We just partnered with a PEO, which is like, usually they're competitors to us in the space because they do 401k work. And more importantly, they do group health insurance and they bundle it together. It's employee leasing, very popular for small businesses. And it helps take care of the compliance around human resources, which is a huge issue these days.
Yep.
So we got referred into a 22-person company down here that is looking to replace their PEO and their health insurance. So we were introduced through a colleague of mine, and we were like, well, we don't have a PEO. Well, we really want to have a PEO. So lo and behold, I was able to find somebody to partner with. She's going to run the PEO side. She's going to carve out and let us do the health side. And we'll pick up hopefully 22 new employees for a small plan. So that's a good one.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Kudos to y'all. Tell Robin I say hello as well. And in the pups, you guys will find out Bruce is he has like 4 Great Danes, I think. 4 or is it 3 right now?
We're down to 1. We've had 7, and we've had as many as 4 at one time.
Yes. So that's my fellow Great Dane lover. Let's go, baby. Well, so then let's start here, Bruce. So before we kind of get into, obviously everything you're doing with Weinstein Wealth is freaking amazing. And what you guys have been able to really turn it into in a very short period of time. But I want to go back to the years before I was born, as you put them, right?
The wagon train.
I've been asking this question. I like this question. What was your first ever job? Before we get into the whole insurance and maybe what was your first job, and then ultimately how did you segue into, and not necessarily insurance, but the financial services and when you did?
So literally first job, I would say 5 years old, I had a lemonade stand.
Come on.
I was humping and grinding for nickels back then. 10 years old, I had a paper route. 12 years old, I had a lawn mowing service. Used to cut people's grass as a teenager. And then on the rare occasion in New Jersey, it snowed. My brother and I were the first ones out the door because you pick up $10, $20.
Yep.
Rule was you had to do your own driveway first. So my mom said you had to get out there, and then we hit the neighborhood and we had our regulars. And so, and then I went pizza delivery, waiter, busboy. I've been grinding since I'm pretty young.
Since 5, baby.
It's literally since 5.
They had the child labor laws.
Yeah.
Right. I love it, man. And so financial planning. Okay, so we go from freaking lemonade stands and paper routes and cutting grass and really doing anything you can to make some money. Why? And maybe that's part of why you went financial services. Maybe that kind of that Wall Street appeal almost.
Yeah.
Well, take us through that.
The story of origin is, Coach Burt likes to talk about, is I was a product of a divorced family. My dad left when I was 8. So we were lower middle class, nothing, rich or fancy. And so the grind, really started early. Like, well, if you wanted money, you got to go out and get it. Right. So you're cutting grass. I was running ads in the papers and getting people to call and take my bike and ride my lawnmower over and pick up $10, $15, whatever it was. So I've always had that grind. Fast forward to college. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Started as computer science, quickly learned that ain't for me.
They had computers that long ago? Must have been cutting edge.
They were called what the hell are they called? The card punch machines. I was at the brink of the card punch machine, and then we got fancy. We got the deck writers, which was the terminal that actually typed. So yeah, what you guys have now on your phone is just amazing from what I started. So starting out, there's always the weed out classes, and it blew my doors away. So I'm not a coder. I can't write you 75 steps as Coach Burt does to get from A to B, but I can fix your problems. So everybody in my class came to me to debug, which was the word of the day, is, well, my program's not working. Can you fix it? So I can't source code it, but I could find the problems. Well, fast forward, what's the plan man do is we're solving problems, right? So I graduated with a degree in MIS, a minor in finance, and I got a job in computers at 22 years of age, and I hated it. And so my dad had a stockbroker, my brother was investing, so I had a stockbroker, and the guy was horrible. And everything I wanted to buy, he naysayed, and it made money, and I was annoyed. And all his garbage recommendations, I kept losing money. I said, I'm better at this than he is. So I said, well, how do you become a stockbroker? And I literally, you talk about a grind, I took my resume and I walked in the door one day at Merrill Lynch, and the guy's looking around like, how'd you find us? I'm like, well, I just parked here in Princeton and walked around. I saw the sign. He goes, you just walked in off the street looking for a job? I said, yeah. And he picked up the phone and he made a call, and he goes, go to New York next week, Tuesday at 9 a.m. And they did what I spoke to Pete Fournier about this, is they did a live simulation with managers, and you played stockbroker for 3 hours.
Wow.
And people walked out in 5 minutes.
Oh yeah.
They're
I'm
like,
sure.
oh, no way, this ain't for me. And I'm like, this is what a stockbroker does? Like, this is awesome. Because you're on the phones, you're getting called, people stopping by your desk. There's the special of the day. You got to make sales calls. I loved it. And so there you go. So they hired me.
I love that. Okay. And how many years in that space? How many?
So I was all told 30 years. 2016, I sold my practice. I built $100 million book of business, assets under management, as some people might know the terms. And we sold in 16 and just kind of, we'll say, meandered around for a little bit. I got into the PNC space. I got my license there. And then really when COVID hit, kind of looking at Rob and my wife, I'm like, well, what do you want to do now? Because I'm not retirement age. And so we decided to rebrand Weinstein Wealth Management, which was the asset management, to Weinstein Wealth Insurance Solutions, and just focus on everything insurance related. If it has an I, I'm your guy. Anything insurance related, like, come to us, and we're here to help. So,
right.
So we're just finishing our second year, right around open enrollment, December of 2020, right? 20, yeah. We started from scratch, brand new agency, and no old clients. Nobody really came. That business was that business, and we just organically, through social media, meeting you, meeting Tony, going to events, meeting Coach Burt, we just keep morphing and growing.
Love it.
I love it. Yep.
Love it. Where did you come up with the plan man idea?
I've been a financial planner for many, many years, and I used to have a license plate that said Plan Man. And when I sold my practice, I kind of shut it all down. I had an 844 Plan Man, and you'll see some pictures I have. I had a Porsche 911 for a half an hour, and I had the license plate Plan Man on it. And so when we started doing this, and I've been doing stuff with Coach Burt. Those who follow Coach Burt talks about writing a book and leading with the book and person of interest. And I'm not a writer. I keep trying to write. I tried ghostwriting with somebody. We'll come back to it, but it's just, I'm not that methodical. I'm a talker, right? I'm a driver expressive, as we say in the red, green, yellow, blue, right? And so I'm in one of my networking groups, and there's a company called Podcast Easy, and they're constantly talking about podcasting. And I see you guys doing lives, and some of the other groups we're in, and I'm like, that's my forum. Like, that's where I belong, talking, interviewing, doing things like that. And so it just kind of re-energized itself. And I'm like, what are we going to call it? And I'm like, oh, come on. It's like right in front of me. Like, Ask the Plan Man. Like, it's a talk show to talk about planning. Everything in life is planning. Doesn't matter.
Right.
Your private plane has a flight plan to get you to the next stop, right? Like, you don't just get on a plane. So everything in life deserves a plan of some kind.
Yeah.
So we talk about,
that's good.
we talk about all things insurance, finance, and more. So we cover things on estate planning, tax planning. We've done an episode on special needs trusts. There's 20 million children out there that are special needs, however you want to define that. Special Olympics you're familiar with. So, think in that capacity. And if, God forbid, you had that child, something happens to you and your wife, what happens to the kid? Right. The sibling, if there's a sibling, you don't want to bestow that work on them. And so this attorney I've worked with for over 20 years has a special needs son and realized this massive gap. And he created a solution called Hope Trust. So we had him on. Again, it's not a financial planning, buy some insurance for me conversation, right? It's not what we're promoting. It's knowledge and information. And there's, like your show, we do 30, 40-minute segments on various topics. Some of it's insurance, some of it's investments, and then there's more. And so we cover a lot of different things. How to lease a car, should you lease or buy, how your credit scores are impacted. Right? What are the do's and don'ts to impact your credit score? So it's just to help people self-educate, and you can pick and choose. We got 6 months of episodes, 22, 24 episodes out there.
I love it. And so let's talk about plan. Okay. So you said everything deserves a plan. Now, this is one of the things I think I admire most about you and Weinstein Wealth and how you have set it all up. So let's talk about your business plan and really how you've just been able, again, you've totally restarted, right? You started from scratch. You started organic, right? Yeah. I hope you guys picked up on that. There is a difference from being like having all the money from the practice and, dumping money into it versus, hey, look, let's do this thing organic, right? Let's talk about your plan. And then also I would like for you to kind of highlight some of the things, maybe even just some of your accolades, like some of those. I know obviously you have a couple of those big boys in there, right? Where all because you came in not only with a plan, but with a purpose too, right? To solve the problem, not to just sell them insurance. Take us kind of through that plan and then some of those accolades on how you've been able to execute.
So the business / marketing plan, start there and then remind me part 2 of the question when I'm done. So what has always worked for me is the personal touch as much as possible and relationships. And so during the first stint as a financial advisor, I set up and ran my own networking group, like a BNI in central New Jersey. We didn't really have the chamber activity like they do down here in Florida. So every state's a little bit different. New Jersey wasn't big into chambers. So kind of took that BNI LaTip model and made my own group, kind of tied it into a mastermind and board of directors type of concept. So that there was a value proposition of we're not just here to network and pass leads around, but also help each other work on our businesses. And so I did that till I moved to Florida. I left the people in charge. The group kind of, fizzled out once I left. As Reggie Jackson says, I'm the straw that stirs the drink. So, nobody's going to be as passionate as you two to run this show. You give it to me to take over for a couple of weeks, it's not going to be the same. It's your baby, right? So my networking group was my baby and I worked it. And so so fast forward to 2020, starting over was, well, what did I like doing, which is important? What was I good at doing? And that's networking, right? Social networking, not necessarily social media, because I was learning that and certainly was clueless till you and I met early on. And so I just got involved in more networking groups again and expanded my activities, restarted my own networking group. And so we get, I don't know if it's a good number or bad number, we get around 5 to 7 referrals a week. I don't buy leads, but we get leads coming in from Facebook, from relationships, from strategic partners. And so it just keeps evolving. And so we're active on social media, maybe ad nauseum. Sometimes it's too much and Facebook doesn't like our algorithms and clamps us down. But we're just being a person of interest, subject matter expert. And then the forum really elevated with Ask the Plan Man to put it out in a whole nother realm. So that's kind of been the marketing side of my approach. Look, I'm 59. I'm doing this since I'm 23. So I'm not against those who need to cold call. I was the cold calling cowboy in the 80s, man. We got smiled and dialed out of a phone book. Okay. You go to the letter S and it's S-A, S-E, S-I. You're just working down with a ruler and you're crossing it off and you're smiled and dialed every day. Hi, Tony. This is Bruce Weinstein with Merrill Lynch. How you doing today? Tony, very excited to share with you. We've got some 8% AAA rated municipal bonds, triple tax-free, Tony. Minimum investment's $25,000. How many can I put you down for today?
Shut up and take my money.
like, and it's like, really? Like but yeah, that's the crap we did. It's not it wasn't a final expense lead that came in. It wasn't a mortgage protection. Like, it wasn't somebody
There was
raising
no
their
interest.
hand. It was like you're cold calling out of a phone book. That's how it starts. I did that for for 4 years. 4 years to build my book. And then eventually I morphed into doing retirement planning seminars, identifying my avatar, like what my ideal client was. And it just kind of grew and blossomed.
So share with us, give us 2 to 3 things. Obviously, you have made the pivot a couple of years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
To obviously rebrand, to restart, to get Weinstein Wealth up off the ground again. Share with maybe some new agents that are either potentially going through that saying, I think there's I don't know if you guys can feel this. There's definitely a shift in our industry. And again, outside of P&C, life and health, whatever, there is just a shift happening right now where agents are transitioning. They're making pivots. So what would be 2 to 3 things that, hey, you know what, man, if I could go back to day one of Weinstein Wealth, I wish I would have implemented this because it would have helped me get this much further right out the gate, right? Versus, hey, we're in year 2 and I just figured this out. And I'm like, shit, I wish I had known that day one, right? 2 to 3 things there. What could you share with some of the members looking to do that?
The first thing that stands out to me, and I was talking to John Wetmore about this the other day, because of all the collaboration that's going on, the fact that the insurance syndicate exists, that you and Tony put in this type of time to help agents come together and share best idea practices, whether it's Cody or Landon and Nate and whoever's out there, everybody's doing this collaboration. And what I shared to John is when I started as a young stockbroker at Merrill Lynch in Princeton, New Jersey, I was a pariah. And I mean, not me personally, but Merrill Lynch was hiring 3 people a month in that office. Nationwide, they were hiring 180 people a month, thousands and thousands of new brokers they were hiring. So the veterans in the office saw us as direct threats. Mm-hmm. They did nothing for us. They didn't lift a finger to help you. They didn't want you to knock on their door and ask them questions. And that's how I was raised in the business is, you're a threat to me. You're trying to steal my business. We're trying to get the same client. Why on earth would I help you? And so to me, the biggest paradigm was, and I had my own rabbi. I mean, as that term is used, is there were a couple of senior brokers in the office that did take me under their wing and help and at least give me some pieces along the way, or I could knock on the door. And I'll give you the first one. And if any agent, whether you're in for 30 years plus like us, or you're starting new, this was the first lesson I was taught by, I think his name was Stan Rosenthal. I remember his name right. May he rest in peace. Always watch your money. You track your commissions every day. It didn't matter whether it was Merrill Lynch, whether you're working with Liberty Mutual, whether you're working with, Redwood. You need to track your money. Because if you think insurance companies don't like paying their client claims, right, and you got to fight to get your $50 reimbursement back, guess what? They withhold commissions and they make you come get it, because they figure the same percentage of people that blow it off and don't track it won't find the fact that they still owe you $2,000 for the year.
Right.
Okay? And so every day we had a trade blotter. You'd write this is all hand stuff, guys. This is no electronic apps. You would write a ticket, you put it in the tube, it would suck into the next room, and the wire operators would type your order in, and they'd send you a confirmation that you just bought 100 shares of IBM, right? And it was a $90 commission. And I would write it down on my pad, and I'd make sure that Campert, Merwin, Weinstein, where are my trade? Oh, I'm missing Merwin's trade. And I have to go back in and challenge, hey, here's the ticket, right? Oh, there it is. So we use, just not to plug it, but Agency Block has a commission tracking system. And before we had a client, we purchased that system, and I had Robin get onboarded and master it. It wasn't something I wanted to take on. I said, you need to learn this. She's like, why are you getting it now? I said, because you need to know it before we get clients. This way, once they come in, you know what the heck you're doing. And we track everything. And guess what? Every month she's tracking down commissions every month. And it's not like we got 10,000 clients. Okay. Right. We're 2 years in, and for 18 months, we've been missing commissions, like literally. So wow. that's a big lesson is, So to your other point of this, technology has been amazing. Again, we started with my computer card history. Like there was you didn't have a laptop. You barely had a desktop. I started as IBM, the 286 computer, and it was so exciting to get a computer, right? Tony's like laughing, like, I mean, this
the
stuff's
screens were about this big.
Yeah, the stuff's archaic. But it was modern. So we started keeping a database, a contact management systems. I started having early adoptions of ACT, which was a calendar. I knew when Tony's birthday was coming up, I would be able to generate my birthday card reports and handwrite cards. And just so the automation, as new as I am into the new business, and you've seen me do a lot of things since we've met, is I'm a student of the automation. Like I'm a student of technology, not automation, technology, because there's so much as a sole practitioner that you can leverage your time, whether you're looking to scale or not, just to be your own solopreneur. Right? It's really Robin and I. She helps with the back office. She's more creative, but I'm the face, right? I'm out there doing all the networking. So there's only so many hours in a day. So anything that you can do to automate or have technology like a calendar system, your CRMs that do automation, things of that nature. I mean, that's really, if there's been one piece that's helped our business from my early days, it's been technology.
Yep.
Just doing this, just having this forum, right, of social media, that stuff didn't exist. Look, you carried a map, and you carried coins in your ashtray because you would have to stop at a phone booth to say, Tony, I'm not quite sure where I am. I know I'm near your house. I'm by the McDonald's, and Tony's like, make a left, 2 rights, and you'll be at my house. I mean, there's no cell phone. There's no Garmin's and GPSs.
I used to have that old school key map, right? The big binder that had the whole key map, right? So it had instead of the giant map, it was all broken down into detail on each page. I just got to go to page 97 and there's the grid and there's my street. I had one of those in my car that I was always using.
Joe's never going to know the enjoyment of stopping into the gas station, going into the restroom, coming out and seeing all the maps you could take for free. Oh, New Jersey. Oh, Pennsylvania. Oh, look, I could get a Connecticut map, right? and you'd put them in your glove box in case you ever drove to Connecticut. Now I got a map.
Yeah, I always wondered why when I got like a new car back when I was in high school, like why there were always like maps in the glove box, I was like, the only time I was doing that was if my cell phone died, It's like, oh shit, I didn't charge it. Looks like I got to ask somebody where to go. This is weird.
So it's a lot easier now.
Yep.
You don't know what you don't know, and you don't realize how advanced we've come to you look at the tread on my shoes to see how things have changed. And, I got to tell you, without the stuff that I've encountered, been exposed to, we're probably not where we are. If I had to go back to the grind, meaning cold calling, no technology, get a phone book out, I'm not restarting this business because I don't want to cold call anymore, man. Like,
yeah.
So, I went back
advantage
to my
of all that
strengths.
knowledge and experience you have and use technology to make it go faster.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
Yeah.
So did that hit your points?
Yeah. Well, for you, Bruce. So I wanted, because I think you're leveraging tech, right? But I think, there was one thing that I wanted you to share on this, because I think you're also, when it comes to uncovering opportunities through automation and everything, I know you've got that up and running, but I think you also are just exceptional at uncovering freaking money, man. And, all of that by, again, using that really your skill set of solving the problem, right? Providing the solution. You're not coming in and you're not being super salesy. You're not being like, forcing a product onto somebody. You do a really good job of planning for them, right? And in that, you've uncovered some crazy freaking deals, right? And I believe some of them are probably still in the works because of how crazy big they are, right?
Yeah.
And so I wanted you to kind of maybe, share maybe one or two of those stories, right? Where it's, hey, this is how it started, probably off a referral, right? And then how you were able to take that conversation and turn a referral into something that was worth 50 referrals, right?
So I'm a conversationalist and I'm an educator. And you've heard me say the line, I have nothing to sell, just problems to solve. So the whole backbone of planning is assessing people's SWOT, not Nate's SWOT, right? Strategic wealth asset, whatever, right? It's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities. So it's SWOT, SWOT, and strengths, weaknesses, opportunity, threats. Sorry, threats. Okay. So if I'm sitting down with Tony and Tony's going to teach me how to play Texas Hold'em, he's going to assess my skill level. He's going to say, you're good at this. You suck at that. Here's where I can help you. And this is how we're going to do it. And so that conveys to anything. And so as a financial advisor, financial planner, whether you're implementing investments, you're implementing insurance, it's needs-based. And so I designed my practice over the years when I was duly licensed. I have nothing to sell. I just have problems to solve. Tony needs his money managed, and Joe needs health insurance and life insurance because he's got 2 little kids. Do I take one as a client and not the other? Well, if I'm not insurance licensed, I can't help Joe. If I'm not securities licensed, I can't help Tony. So my practice was always all are welcome. I did get caught up in the days when they do it to now is the big firms have large minimums, meaning if Tony doesn't have $500,000, Merrill Lynch doesn't want him. You don't have $1 million, they don't want you. And so I come from nothing, literally. And I didn't wake up with $1 million at 20 years of age and say, okay, Merrill Lynch, here I am. Like, I'm ready to be your client. Like, you got to grow into it, right? You got to grow into that size 12 foot or your puppy paws, right? So, you know, I started cold calling for $2,000 IRA contributions in 1987 because IRAs were just coming out. And that was the cold call. Mr. Werman, how you doing? Bruce Weinstein, Merrill Lynch. Have you made your contribution to your IRA yet for 1986? And you just pounded it, right? So is a $2,000 IRA contribution a $1 million relationship? No, it's $2,000, right? I forgot the question already. So so evolve.
One of the fast because I know where you're going with it because you're like, well, you know, this is where I started, right? But I think it really geared you up to be prepared for the conversations that obviously that you're having now.
So I didn't want to be a transactional stockbroker.
Right.
I was doing planning before it was called planning. Because at 23, when I cold called, I quickly identified who's on the other end of the phone. I'm cold calling during the day. I'm cold calling at night. So if a female is answering the phone at 11 a.m., odds are she's a stay-at-home mom. And I would break into college planning. Hi, Ms. Campert. My name's Bruce Weinstein. I'm with Merrill Lynch. You know, one of the things I specialize in is helping parents prepare for college. Is that something that would be relevant to you? And you know, and of course, well, you have to talk to my husband, you know, and okay, what's a good time? And you would make a follow-up. And I mean, I still have like I'm a paper guy. Like I used to have all my leads and papers and dates, and you put it in a Rolodex type style and got to call them Tuesday and this one Monday the 1st, and you just organize your paperwork. So as I've been told by my colleagues, I was doing consultative sales before it was consultative sales. Yep. And so as time progressed and I got into financial planning and I understood more of insurances and leading with the plan. So we're on SWOT. So my job is to show the client where they're strong, where they're weak, where their threats are, and where the opportunity is to help them. And so then you put those ideas in front of them and you're trusted. Again, these are strangers in the most part, right? It wasn't a referral-based practice. And so you're having several meetings. Their defense wall is up here. Their trust is down here. And as you're meeting with them and you're showing them you're listening, you're hearing, you're giving them answers, you're being selfless in your work. Well, now the trust is reversed. And there's no defense. They're not worried. Like they know you got their back. And I've always treated my clients like family. And It's just proven for me. Everybody's got their own nature and their own style, but that's how I lead it.
Yep, it's good. It's good.
And so from that, you were, I think the segue for you was like, some of the cases that I've done and uncovered.
I love hearing the numbers, man, because it's just freaking like freaking what, dude?
I mean, it's unfortunately it's about 20 years ago, and I'm trying to find the next one. But you talk about hunting Moby Dick and gorilla hunting. For those who've watched Wall Street, the original Wall Street, Gordon Gekko, Michael Douglas, Bud Fox, and Charlie Sheen, is Gordon Gekko was the whale. He was the gorilla, and every day Charlie Sheen was calling him, trying to get in with Gordy Gekko, right? And eventually, as fate has it, he does, right? And be careful what you wish for. But the point is, we all have kind of our gorilla story out there, or the hunt. Even if it's not every day, you still have somebody like that. So my gorilla came about not by cold calling, but by one of my seminars. And I had a couple come in, and you talk about never judge a book by his cover, because if I tell you the guy was wearing overalls and had a piece of straw in his mouth, and now that might be common in Texas, but it's not common in Princeton, New Jersey. Right. So, like, all right, what's going on here? Right. And so they come in, they sit down, they come in for a consultation. And long story short, they've got $5 million in one stock with an $8,000 tax basis. So they're handcuffed. Nobody will sell the stock because it's a $5 million capital gain, which at that time was 28%. So if they sell to diversify, they're losing $1.4 million right off the bat. They're down to 3.6. Okay. So because of my training, I've gone to other courses. I learned about something called charitable remainder trusts and charitable giving, which is very popular in the Midwest. For those, you got people out there that are in farmland, right? Rural America, Wisconsin, Indiana, whatever. When you've got family generations, 300 years in the farming industry in Indiana, well, how's Tony given, how's David given the farm to Joe, who's given it to his kids and 300 years later? Because there's something called inheritance tax. And you have land. So it's not like you could just sell some Microsoft stock or some Tesla stock and pay the tax. Like, what am I do? Sell my soybean farm, sell my potato farm? Well, and now I'm just cannibalizing my farmland, right? So you had to create liquidity. And so charitable remainder trust became a tool they used out there. And so the long and short of it, not to bore our audience here, is we gifted the $5 million to a charitable remainder trust, which goes to their charity, not mine, their charity. They pick it at their demise. So when the husband and wife are gone, that $5 million, whatever's left, is going to go to the charity. Okay. In exchange for that, they get lifetime income. And a lifetime income's pegged around 8%, which was $400,000 a year. We used that $400,000 and we bought a $5 million life insurance second to die, put it in an ILIT trust, irrevocable life insurance trust, so that when they die, their kids still get the $5 million they just gave away. Now, I tried to get them to buy 10 million because their assets should grow and they should leave more, but they opted for 5. They said that's enough. The kids don't need more than that.
Right. They can work for a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, Warren Buffett's not giving his kids any money, right? They get like 10 million out of his 50 billion. So we recreated the asset at demise. We doubled their revenue, their income from the stock they owned. The dividend was not paying that. It was paying half of that. So even by spending $40,000 on the life insurance, they're still getting $360 and they were barely getting $200. So we doubled their income, in theory, 50%, whatever. We got rid of the capital gain tax. The whole $5 million got to be reinvested. They didn't pay the capital gain. We fixed their estate plan, which at the time was $600,000 that they could protect. Now we protected the whole thing. So we created a zero estate tax, and they paid no taxes on this. And their charity is going to get $5 million. All right. So this is where you want to get to. The commission that generated between the annuity sale, the life insurance, selling the stock, was $400,000 of commissions.
Come on.
Biggest case I ever had.
On a case,
nice.
one case.
But you talk about a unique, and I say this, and it's not to be disparaging to my, brethren out there. You could talk to 10,000 advisors and they never would have known how to solve that case.
Yeah.
Right.
That was the uniqueness of it. Right.
Yeah.
And just right place, right time. They walked in the door, they got a steak dinner, and I saved them. At the time, the inheritance tax would have cost them another almost $2 million, and the capital gains was 1.4. So it was over a $3 million tax savings in the strategy.
Wow.
What did it cost them? They had to pay some money to sell the stock. The commission for the life insurance they didn't pay. The annuity they didn't pay. So they just had to pay the stock transaction. Now, the coup d'etat on this is all that money was in a bank stock. At the time, it was First Union Bank, which became Wachovia. Anybody know where Wachovia is today? If you're Tony knows, okay. Wachovia stock went from $60 to $2 to $1.25. When the housing crisis of 07-08 hit, Wachovia failed, got acquired by Wells Fargo. This client had all their money in what would have been, if they had not have met us, in First Union stock that would have converted to Wachovia. It would have grown beyond $5 million, and then it would have gone down to less than $100,000.
Wow.
Okay. They're still getting, to this day, they're still getting checks upwards of $400,000 a year.
Gotta ask the plan, man.
So it has been said that your income is directly related to the size and frequency of the problems that you solve. Would you agree with that?
100%.
Certainly sounds correct in that case.
100%. So, so as much as our business is cultivated from health insurance, life insurance, and annuities would be our top three. And a lot of that is because it's big idea, big thinking, big problem solving. Not that I don't want term insurance, not that I don't want a Medicare enrollment, but if I could do a private pension life insurance for a self-employed and show them that they put away this amount of money for 20 years and it grows tax-free, and then we're going to bring it out tax-free for the rest of their lives. We're working on a case now. They just got approved, and in essence, they're going to put in $1 million of savings, and it's going to grow over a period of time in an IUL. And then the projections at a modest 6% return, which should be historically achievable, especially now with interest rates up here. They're going to pull out $2.5 million tax-free income for their back end of their lives. And they're like, where do we sign up?
Yeah, right.
Because
the plan, man.
Because there's not a lot of places. Look, we do a ton of annuities, right? Annuities protect your principal, gives you, modest upside, no downside. But at the end of the day, it's still taxable.
Right.
Right. It's tax deferred. It's last in, first out. It's LIFO. So the interest you make is taxable first. So unless you annuitize your annuity, which nobody wants to do, it's going to be taxable. And so this couple is going to generate $135,000 a year in tax-free income on top of everything else they got going on. I could put that same money in annuity, but it's not going to be tax-free.
Right.
So,
dang, dude.
You said you get most of your business through referrals now. That's pretty much all you're doing, right? You get about 5 to 7 referrals a week. Isn't that what you set up, or a month, or is it a week?
Mm-hmm.
No, you said
a week.
A week, right?
Yeah.
Who is the ideal referral for the plan man?
Referral partner or referral client?
No, who's the ideal referral client?
Well, that's a great question. I'll roll it back to the retirement planning seminars I used to do that I'm just starting to get back into now. I'm teaming up with investment advisors to help on the investment implementation because I can't manage money anymore. I don't want to do it. So my avatar for my seminars was 58 to 62-year-olds, of which I'm now in that category, but I wasn't when I started this 25. So I started doing steak dinner seminars in 1997, 25 years ago. Nobody was doing them. Okay. And all my stockbroker friends are like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you're doing dinner seminars? You're giving away steak dinners? I'm like, just watch. So we did 3 nights. I'll tell you how it works. And if people want to hit me up later, I'll tell you what worked for me in the past. I don't know how it works today. It's saturated. That's the problem. So I did 3 nights on a dinner invitation at a local steakhouse. It was only $25 a head back then. I did a 10,000 person mailing to a 58 to 62-year-old audience. Household income, a certain amount of money. My area was not Princeton. My area was normal suburbia we had a lot of corporate America. We had you name the corporations in central New Jersey, all the pharmaceuticals were there. AT&T, it was there. IBM was there. Like, it was bountiful for
Right.
an advisor, right? South Florida doesn't have as much corporation. It's a lot of small business owners. It's not IBM, right? So anyway, my avatar was 58 to 62-year-old, and my presentation would talk about the financial planning journey, and it would touch on the different areas that most people have to deal with. So asset allocation, inflation, long-term care, estate planning, retirement planning, right? So it was enough on there to poke somebody in the eye. You may have been good investing your money, and so the asset allocation didn't resonate. But when I got into long-term care and estate planning, you're like, oh crap, I didn't even know I needed that, right? So I had something. So I had something for everybody. And then, what was the importance of the ages? Well, if Tony's 58 and he has a sense of, I got a 401k, I've got this over here, I might get a pension, here's my Social Security. Like, well, how do I put it all together? And can I retire at 60? Do I have to go to 62? Should I wait till 65? And so most people, not everybody, but most people in that age band, the kids are done with college, right? My youngest is out of school 8 years already. I'm 59. So at 51, my youngest was out of college. If you had a 30-year mortgage and you started a family, you're probably done with your mortgage unless you refied with the low rates, right? And pulled money out. So their cash flow was the strongest. They got done making the tuition payments. They're done making mortgage payments, and they're at their peak earning years. They're the perfect storm. Now, their money might be in their 401k, and I won't make anything until they retire and roll it over, but I'll do a plan. We'll talk about long-term care. If they got a pension, we got to do pension planning strategies. We used to do a lot of pension max, which was life insurance, right? And so this is what we counseled on. And then that's really what grew my business over that 20 plus year window was retirement planning seminars. So that's what used to work, Tony. I don't know if that's my ideal client today, right now. I haven't really, first of all, I don't limit, as I've said earlier, I don't turn anybody away, but yeah, if I had a choice, I'd like to work with more of the high net worth individual that are going to have high net worth needs, where you can do sophisticated estate planning, insurance trusts. I mean, that's just big ticket business, right?
Right.
But to me, again, for the newer agent out there, I'm 2 years in. So just because I have history in building a business does not mean it's easily translatable to insurance, right? So you have to laser focus on the insurance space. We offer everything, but we're starting from scratch. And so when I looked at this, my previous practice was fee-based. I had $100 million of assets. I averaged a 1% fee, no commissions. And so I woke up every month, not at zero. Every January, not at zero. What's the salesperson's biggest plight? What'd you do for me lately?
Right.
It's Friday, Monday's a new week, you're back to zero. It's October 1st, you're back to zero. It's January 1st, I don't care how good you did for the year, you're back to zero. So I transitioned my investment practice from commission-based transactions to fee-based. And I was, again, ahead of the curve. And so when I got into insurance, well, I knew where the commissions were, and that's annuities and life insurance. And then I knew where the residual income was, and that's health insurance and Medicare.
Yep.
And so, it's not that I don't want one end of it, Tony. I'm trying to build both, because now our residual income, meaning my group health plan monthly commissions, my regular health under 65, my Medicare, like all of a sudden we've gone from 0 to 5,000 a month and growing. So now come January 1st, am I starting at 0? No, I got an $80,000 base come the end of the year. Now, my expenses go with it because I pay for a lot of technology and a lot of services, right? Doing the plan man's not free. I got to pay for that, right? I have producers and engineers and marketing and, doing all the stuff that goes with it. But it's where I want to put my money. And so I don't buy leads per se, but I put it in other directions. So if you're new starting out, look, we didn't have an ability to buy leads when I started. It was the ability to get a phone book.
It was the ability to work.
Look, what I didn't share with you from the Merrill Lynch saga was we weren't close with them, which I'm sure is part of the problem. My mother had a first cousin that was third in command at E.F. Hutton. Now, a lot of people out there have no idea who E.F. Hutton is.
That's old school.
And they're long gone. And here's why. Because when I went for the interview, even though the cousin set it up, they gave me a 10-hour psychological profile. And I went home and filled out all the number 2 pencil circles for hours. Tony, would you like to play poker or go to an art museum? Tony wants to play poker.
Definitely.
Joe, would you rather shoot hoops or sell life insurance? Well, Joe wants to shoot hoops. So I'm answering it like, yeah, I'd rather play softball, and I don't like art, so I'm not going to the art museum. I don't understand. Well, answer it to the sales question, right? Because I'm not thinking. I'm just answering it honestly. So I follow up with them, and they're like, you have no sales experience. You didn't do very well on the exam. Go sell cars for 6 months and come back and see us. And I said to them, that's what prompted the story, Tony, as you said it is. I said, give me a desk and a phone. You don't have to pay me a dime. Just let me work. And they said, we don't do it that way. I'm like, all right, screw you. And then I walked into Merrill Lynch, and Merrill Lynch put me through the simulation, no psychological profile. Go play stockbroker for 3 hours. And as I said earlier, people left within 5 to 10 minutes. They're like, whoa, this is what I got to do. Not for me. I was Mr. Brown, my marker, right? And I played broker, and I'm like, this is for me. This is my path. And and
here we are.
Here we are, 85 years later, still kicking.
We gotta wrap it up here shortly, but I want to ask you one question for some of the people that are watching this. If you're an agent, right, you're fairly successful in your business, you're doing okay, right? You got a nice 6-figure income, you're in your late 40s, maybe early 50s.
Right.
What are they not thinking of as they're getting older and planning their business, whether it's succession planning, legacy planning, taking care of themselves, estate planning, whatever? What is something that should be absolutely top of mind as they're approaching their 50s and getting closer and closer to retirement?
Number one warning, because it hit me, is complacency. You got to be careful as your tenure grows and your team is built out. If you have a team or your practices hit pretty much where you wanted, is to get complacent and take your eye off the ball. I would move from firm to firm over the years. You got a nice check, but it also re-energized me and getting back to work, because you're getting comfortable, right? You start making $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year. It's like, do I really want to grind anymore? So that's one that would be a caution, a warning sign. I went through that. As far as the exit strategy, what to think about, if you're building your brand and you can't remove yourself from the brand, it's going to be hard to sell. If I build up the Plan Man and I want to sell it, can Tony buy the Plan Man and suddenly become the Plan Man? Not with that logo.
Right.
Got to grow a goatee a little better.
I'm still waiting for puberty. I can't grow a beard. If you can't see on camera, I do have a small goatee here. So look, I've never had success building a team. I've been a training manager. I've been a district manager. I've been a recruiter. The bottom line, and I shared this on one of the podcasts, I think with either John Wetmore or Ryan, was nobody's as good as me. And the hardest part is giving up that control and trying to replicate yourself, duplicate yourself, and find those people. And it's hard. It's hard. And it's not ego saying I'm really good at this. I'm really good at this. It's hard for me to find somebody that's willing to look. My own kids don't want to work this hard. I tried to bring my oldest son into the business and he just waited for me to do all the work. Like, dude, you got to grind, pick up the phone, make calls. I thought you're going to do it. No, I did it. I built a business. Right. So, the work ethic is very different. Certainly your followers have what it takes. They've been building businesses, or they're new and they're trying to do it. So that perseverance, but we did an episode with Wetmore. We talked about him scaling and exiting. So we will have an episode in the next couple of weeks released on that. But to your question, I sold my asset management business. You guys kind of know my backstory. We don't have to get into today. It wasn't necessarily by choice, and we'll just say that. But I got a check. I've been getting checks, and I had a back end on it where we get an income stream, which has allowed me to step in and build a new business because I don't need to pull money out of the business. So our first 2 years almost in business, I've put every dime back into the business to keep it growing and accelerating it. Right. Not everybody has that opportunity. Right. Joe's got to feed his family. Tony's got to feed his family. So, how do you produce? How do you pay the bills? How do you do this? And so there's a great book. Damon John is Rise and Grind. And
I see it right behind you there.
Right behind me.
Yeah.
And then I don't know where the other one is. The Power of Broke. Read The Power of Broke first, and then read Rise and Grind. Because just because you have money to invest in your business doesn't mean you should be putting that money in that area. Right. And so when we started, I played from The Power of Broke. If I only have $2,000, where am I best off spending it? And then for me, a lot of it was like, well, to work with Tony, it's $3,000. Well, Tony, I want to work with you, but I don't have $3,000 in a lump sum. Can you work on payments with me? Right? Like I can give you 500. I know I got it coming in. I got 500 a month. I give you for 6 months if you want to take me on as a client. And this is like technology things, building my websites, doing. As I launched the plan, man, people want money, right? 2,000 for this, 5,000 for this. Do a jingle, do this. And I'm like, look, I want to do it all. I'll pay you, but I need payments.
Yeah.
Because I don't have $10,000 to just brand the plan, man. I need to spread it out.
Yeah.
So The Power of Broke is a good lesson in looking at and managing your cash flow as a new agent, a new business owner, to circle back and gravitate. Because look, I said no to a lot of things early on because I just didn't have the capital. And now the capital comes in and I say, all right, I know I'm getting a $2,000 commission here. I can put that back in. So when I would interview, let's just say new technology people to help me, I never take a call or a meeting if I'm not interested. I don't have time. I'm not here to waste your time. So I'm always an interested buyer if I make that appointment. And I tell them point blank, it's not no, it's not now.
Yeah.
Meaning I want to do this, right? I want to join TCC. I just don't have the money today, right?
Yep.
So if you give me payments, then I can come in through payments. If you want your money today, then I need to put that together and I'll be back in 6 months, right? So it's not no, it's just
not now.
Yeah.
That's good.
And so I position forward thinking, planning is I always kind of have my what's next. When I want to level up, what's next, right? So we're going to Bradley and Coach Bird's boot camp in 2 weeks on branding because Brad said if I come, he's going to put me on dropping bombs to promote the plan, man. Well, that's $2,000.
Yeah.
and they want it right now.
Yep.
Well, that's the best, hopefully will be the best $2,000 I spent in a long time.
Nice.
I think it should be if it's Bradley and Coach on branding. I think that one's going to pay for itself. I would say
pretty quickly.
As much as I cherish being on with you guys and getting more exposure and doing the Delray, I mean, if Brad's got 1 million listeners and he's promoting Ask the Plan Man, if 1% subscribe and start listening, it's
awesome.
So
that's
money
awesome.
Well spent, right? So the lessons for everybody is understand your playing field, educate yourself on what's out there, read audibles. Somebody I see put in the chat, names of books. I mean, my audibles
what's the Damon John ones? I think is what she was asking. It's The Power of Broke and then Rise and Grind, right?
Rise and Grind, right?
Yep.
But then Tim Grover's got 2 great books. Relentless and Winning. I mean, there's tons of books out there. I've been listening to books on tape, cassettes, since the 80s, right? Zig Ziglar, Earl Nightingale, Brian Tracy, Stephen Covey. I mean, you got to self-educate.
Right.
I mean, I got from A to B in 35 years real quick, and I know you got to wrap up. My older son was interning with me one summer, well before the insurance world, when I was doing the investments. And he wasn't sure what he wanted to do in college. He was going to Arizona State. And he came to me, and we had just done some seminars, and we're now doing those first interviews with the seminar attendees. And as the show's gone along, is I can get chatty, right? I talk. I got a lot to say. I got a lot to share, right? So what's normally a 2-hour meeting was 3 hours. And the couple signed up, and we set, next meeting and all that stuff. And my son was visibly shaken. I'm like, what's the matter? He goes, I can't do this. I'm like, what do you mean you can't do this? He goes, this isn't for me. I'm like, why? He goes, I'm never going to know all that. He says, you just talked for 3 hours on, I don't know how many different topics and subjects to help them. He goes, I don't know that. I said, did you think I knew that when I was your age?
Right.
So you got to put tools in your toolbox. You got to sharpen the saw. You got to self-educate. And that's what I've always done. And that's where the book on tape, the audibles now, you put on your headphones and go for a walk, a jog. You're driving to an appointment. You shouldn't be listening to Howard Stern. You should be listening to Stephen Covey, right? Begin with the end in mind. Go learn those lessons. There's hundreds of them. And there's, you'll drown in it, right? The Ed Milet's are out there now. And I've been listening to Patrick Bet-David, who I met through Cody and 8%. Like, it just, everything I've done has opened up more doors. I've given Joe that credit. As I met Joe through TCC, right? The Closers Click. It's a private club. We had to buy into that. Joe and I met, and Joe said, you got to go check out this event called SWAT. And so I paid the money. It's in the middle of COVID. Nobody's traveling. I'm like, I'm going. I don't care. And Coach Burt talks. And I'm like, that's my Messiah. Like, literally, I mean, I've never had a coach. 35 years in the business, I never had a coach. I had lousy sports coaches, taught terrible. And I certainly never had a business coach.
Right.
To this capacity. And I was a moth to his flame, and the rest is history. I'm implementing, doing, and listening, and thank you.
Because I've known you those same 2 years, right? Because we met at that same SWAT event.
Yep.
And I remember the coach's message, right? That was one of the first times I got to see him. The very first time I saw him was at the first 8%, but then I saw him at SWAT again. And again, he's going out there with the person of interest message. And I've watched you grow your Plan Man business from that day. And I can
100%.
guarantee I can see how you've taken those lessons of how do I become a person of interest? How do I create a brand that has tentacles that reaches out and generates people coming to me? And you've obviously done it very well. We do have to wrap up. I have one last question.
Oh,
that phone number, 321-421-5213.
You guys, I'm about to get room service is coming into my room. I'm just telling you guys right now. I'm already supposed to be checked out. Let's go for it.
Did you design that phone number, or did you get lucky on that 321-421-5213?
So I have a couple of different tools of technology we talked on. So one is a digital business card. And it started out as a short code, which was 21,000. So that's easy to remember, 21,000. So if Tony wants to share my information with Joe, he would say, hey, Joe, text the word Plan Man to 21,000. So those listening right now, you could text that number, but certain phone companies aren't using it anymore. They want to go to the long code again because they felt, I don't know, FCC got involved. So the person that I use my service through, that was one of the options. So there's a pattern, right? 321-421-521-3. I had it months till I realized it was a pattern. I didn't realize the 3, the 4, and the 5.
Yeah, I saw it immediately. Right? I was like, that's pretty solid. That's That's something that can get stuck in somebody's mind.
Right. But it's not easy for you as the non-user to give it to Joe. 21,000 is, right? So it's a little bit of a setback. But I got the banner printed. It's got some other stuff up there. It says, the phone number there, but it's just on camera enough. So if you text the word Plan Man with no space to that phone number, you're going to get my digital business card. You can save it to your phone. You can email, call, text, subscribe to the podcast, listen to the YouTube channel, It has Weinstein Welts information as well as Plan Man information, and it's delivered like that. And
Good.
then I get notified when somebody puts it in, and I don't bother them. It just goes in as, somebody picked it up. But you could start watching my episodes of the Plan Man right from that. And so it's just for $22 a month. I'm everywhere. Just text Plan. Just text Plan Man. So that's what that is. We have an 844 number, Plan Man, which it's cut out of the picture. And then everything is Ask the Plan Man, wherever you need to find it.
Well, there you have it, guys.
Did we set the record?
In effect, we did set the record.
I told Joe before you came on. I said we're in trouble.
Yeah,
I knew going into it.
Absolutely.
I hope people got some nuggets out of it, and they're always welcome to hit me up. I'm always accessible.
I guarantee you they did. So listen, guys, all you got to do is you got to text Plan Man to 321-421-5213. Very simple, and you'll get his full business card. I can tell you that Bruce Weinstein is definitely somebody you want in your network. Bruce took some time with me about a year ago, maybe a little longer than that, to help me think through a problem in regards to fundraising. And his wisdom helped me understand that I don't need as much money as I think I did. And once I wrapped my head around that, next thing I know, I had a whole bunch of money in my pocket, and I'm growing my business a little faster. So definitely a great person. He is wise with all the years of experience and has a ton of knowledge in the industry across several ways. And he's also extremely process oriented, which is what you got to be in this business. So thank you so much for joining us today, Bruce. Joe, as always, thanks for putting this together. Thanks you guys for tuning in. We'll see y'all next week, 9 a.m. Central, live on Wednesday.
Wednesday, baby. It's Wednesday. Let's get it. And y'all, I got a little special treat for you guys tomorrow. So be on the lookout. I'm not telling you the time. But I got a little special treat for you guys. Just know it'll be in the morning. So be on the lookout here in the morning. Got some big news that we're dropping here tomorrow for the show. So again, thank you, Bruce. Appreciate you.
My pleasure.
Really looking forward to the next time we get to see each other and hang out in person. And Syndicate members is Wednesday. Pick of the week, baby. Let's get it.
Here's the jingle. When you need some advice, always get it right. Come ask the Plan Man.
Come on.
There you go. Love it.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, guys.
Have a great week, Syndicate members. Later.